6 responses to Bernie skeptics. Number 1, says the skeptic.
That's Robert Reich. And everything he says about Bernie Sanders is wrong, wrong, wrong. Want to know how? I'm going to explain. I'm Dan Bongino.
Welcome to the Complete Idiot's Guide to Bernie Sanders. Because socialism sounds good in theory, it's just the real world that has a problem with it.
He couldn't get any of his ideas implemented because Congress would reject them. Well, if both houses of Congress remain in Republican hands, no Democrat will be able to get much legislation through Congress and will have to rely instead on executive orders and regulations.
Is this guy serious? He's proud of the fact that Bernie Sanders will be unable to follow the democratic process and will trample on both the Constitution and the rule of law? Just so we're all clear on what Reich is saying here, he's advocating a political revolution that tramples on and silences your voice in government and replaces it with the whims and wishes of their messiah, Bernie Sanders. Disgraceful. Political revolutions always sound good in theory until they turn around and bite you in the ass.
America would never elect a socialist. Please. America's most successful and beloved government programs are social insurance, Social Security, and Medicare. I mean, a highway is a shared social expenditure, as is the military, and public parks, and schools.
Wow. Is Reich naive to what socialism is? Or Sanders, for that matter? Or are they both just lying to you here? Roads, bridges, Social Security, and Medicare are socialism? Here's the actual definition of socialism. A way of organizing a society in which major industries are owned and controlled by the government, rather than by individual people and companies. Last time I checked, we are a representative democracy, not a socialist pseudo-paradise. In our representative democracy, we vote to elect representatives who then vote to enact, reform, or repeal legislation which allocates money taxed from privately owned businesses and from you, American taxpayers' wallets, on programs such as this, Social Security and Medicare. Is Reich suggesting that these businesses should be owned by the government? Social Security's own nonpartisan trustees have declared that the trust fund will be bankrupt in just 18 years, and Medicare's trust fund will be bankrupt in just 10. Sad, isn't it? Greedy, power-hungry politicians sold you these programs under the guise of, you're not smart enough to save for your own retirement. But what they never told you is that they never saved for your retirement either. If this is the definition of Reich's success, I'll pass.
His single-payer healthcare proposal would cost so much it would require raising taxes on the middle class. This is a duplicitous argument. Even if the Sanders single-payer plan did require some higher taxes, Americans would still come out way ahead because they'd save far more than that on health insurance.
Okay. Reich is just straight up lying to you here. According to the far-left website Vox, yes, Vox with a V, not Fox, in their piece titled Study, Bernie Sanders' single-payer plan is almost twice as expensive as he says. Digest that for a minute. Sanders' plan to use government to take over the entire healthcare system in the United States, the very definition of single-payer, by the way, the single-payer is the government, would require workers to pay an additional 20% of their compensation in taxes, an additional 20%. He, the left-leaning author of that study, also argues that it would leave an astonishing 71% of households with private insurance worse off once you take both the tax increases and reduced health care expenditures into account. Sounds like a real gem of a program. So Reich's claims here of cost savings due to government-run healthcare are nonsense. How are we going to afford a healthcare system and the addition of the salaries of legions of new government bureaucrats to take over your healthcare decisions? It defies common sense and logic.
His plan for paying for college with a tax on Wall Street trades would mean colleges would be run by government rules. Baloney. 3/4 of college students today already attend public universities, financed largely by state governments, and they're not run by government rules.
He totally misrepresents the facts here by using an old debating scam that liberals love to use, which Thomas Sowell once called starting the story in the middle. What's fascinating here is that Reich refuses to tell you why the costs of college are exploding. The why matters. A recent National Bureau of Economic Research study blamed nearly all of the explosive growth in college costs on government intervention in the student loan market. Your tax dollars have provided an endless spigot of American tax dollars to colleges all over the country who are more than willing to suck up those dollars and hike their prices. This isn't a mystery, only to liberals and socialists. But Reich never lets the facts and the data get in the way of what he thinks is a good story. In short, folks, don't be a sucker. Don't feel the burn.